The dust never settled in Alpine, Texas, not in the summer of 1884, and Alina Thatcher had learned to read danger in every cloud of it that rose from the horizon. She stood behind the counter of Morrison's general store, her hands gripping the worn wood so tightly her knuckles had gone white, watching a lone rider approach through the window with the same paralyzing fear that had followed her from Missouri to Kansas to Colorado, and now here to this sun-scorched corner of West Texas. Every stranger could be him. Every footstep on the boardwalk outside could announce the end of everything she had fought so hard to build. The rider passed without stopping, and Alina released a breath she had not realized she was holding. 3 months in Alpine, and she still could not sleep through the night. 3 months since she had fled Pueblo with nothing but the clothes on her back and the small leather pouch of coins she had saved from 2 years of working in a boarding house. 3 months since she had looked over her shoulder in the train station and seen her father's face in the crowd, his eyes finding hers across the platform with the cold recognition of a hunter spotting prey. She had made it onto the train with seconds to spare, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst through her ribs. A kind woman had hidden her in a private compartment when the conductor came through, and Alina had stayed there, barely breathing, until they crossed into Texas. By the time she reached Alpine, she had nearly convinced herself she was safe. Nearly. The bell above the door chimed, and Alina jumped, her hand instinctively moving to the knife she kept tucked in her apron pocket. But it was only Mrs. Henderson, the banker's wife, coming in for her weekly order of tea and fabric. "Good afternoon, Miss Thatcher," Mrs. Henderson said warmly. "You are looking a bit peaked today. Are you feeling well?" Alina forced a smile, the same practiced expression she had perfected over 23 years of hiding bruises and broken bones. "Just the heat, madam. Nothing a cool drink would not fix." Mrs. Henderson nodded sympathetically and began examining the bolts of calico that had arrived on yesterday's stage. Alina served her with efficient courtesy, wrapping the purchases in brown paper and accepting payment with steady hands that betrayed none of the trembling she felt inside. When the woman left, Alina sagged against the counter, pressing her palm to her forehead. "You keep standing like that, you are going to wear a hole clean through that wood." Alina's head snapped up. A man stood in the doorway, backlit by the fierce afternoon sun, so that for a moment he was nothing but a dark silhouette. Then he stepped inside, and she could see him properly, tall and lean, with sun-bronzed skin and dark hair that needed cutting. He wore the dust-covered clothes of a working cowboy, and his eyes were a startling shade of blue-green that reminded her of river water. "I apologize," he said, removing his hat. "I did not mean to startle you. I am looking for Mr. Morrison." "He is making a delivery to the Chambers Ranch," Alina said, her voice steadier than she felt. "He should be back within the hour. Can I help you with something?" The cowboy studied her for a moment, and Alina had the unsettling feeling that he saw more than she wanted him to. But his expression remained polite, even gentle. "I am Adam Irving. I work at the Double T Ranch about 5 miles north of town. The boss sent me in for supplies, but I can come back later if you are not authorized to fill orders." "I can help you," Alina said quickly. Mr. Morrison had been kind enough to give her this job without asking too many questions, and she was determined to prove her worth. "What do you need?" Adam pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket and handed it to her. As she read through the list, salt and coffee and ammunition and rope, she was aware of him watching her. Not in the way men usually watched women, with that hungry, calculating look she had learned to fear, but with something closer to curiosity. "You are new in town," he said. It was not a question. 3 months, Alina replied, gathering items from the shelves. "Is that still considered new in Alpine? You will be the new girl for at least a year." There was warmth in his voice, a hint of humor that made her glance up despite herself. "Where are you from originally?" Alina's hand stilled on a bag of coffee beans. This was the question she dreaded, the one that could unravel everything. "Back east," she said vaguely. "Missouri. Long way from home. I suppose it is." She set the coffee on the counter with more force than necessary, making it clear the subject was closed. Adam did not press, just waited patiently as she finished gathering his supplies. When she tallied the cost, he counted out the money carefully, his hands scarred and calloused from hard work. "Thank you, Miss Thatcher," he said, loading the supplies into a canvas sack. Then he paused, his hat in his hands, and met her eyes directly. "If you ever need anything at all, the Double T Ranch is not far. We are good people out there. You would be welcome." Alina did not know what to say to that, so she simply nodded. Adam lingered for another moment as if he wanted to say more, then replaced his hat and left, the bell chiming in his wake. Alina watched him ride away, something unfamiliar and uncomfortable stirring in her chest. That night, she lay awake in the tiny room she rented above the seamstress shop, listening to the sounds of the town settling into darkness. Somewhere a dog barked. Somewhere a baby cried. Somewhere men laughed in the saloon 2 streets over. Normal sounds, safe sounds, but Alina could not let herself believe in safety. Her father was looking for her. He had followed her across 3 states, appearing in each new town she tried to hide in with the inevitability of a curse. He would find her here too. It was only a matter of time. She thought of Adam Irving's words, the genuine kindness in his eyes, and felt a pang of something that might have been longing. What would it be like to be someone who could accept an offer like that? To walk into friendship or community or anything else without the constant weight of fear? But that was not her life, would never be her life as long as her father drew breath. She had learned that lesson too many times, in too many towns, with too many bruises. The next morning, Alina was sweeping the boardwalk in front of the store when she saw him. Her father, Marcus Thatcher, sitting on a bench outside the hotel across the street, watching her with the patience of a man who had all the time in the world. He looked older than she remembered, his hair grayer, his face more lined, but his eyes held the same cold fury that had dominated her entire childhood. The broom clattered from Alina's hands. For a moment, she could not move, could not breathe, could not think beyond the animal panic that seized her. Then Marcus stood, straightening his coat, and began walking toward her with slow, deliberate steps. Alina bolted. She ran inside the store, through the back room, out into the alley behind the building. She did not know where she was going, only that she had to get away, had to run, had to keep running until her legs gave out or her lungs burst or something. Anything stopped the nightmare that was unfolding around her. Strong hands caught her shoulders and Alina screamed, fighting with desperate fury. "Easy, easy. Miss Thatcher, it is me, it is Adam." The words penetrated the fog of terror, and Alina stopped struggling, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Adam Irving stood in the alley, his face creased with concern, his hands still on her shoulders but his grip gentle, steadying rather than restraining. "What happened?" he asked. "What are you running from?" Alina could not answer. She was shaking too hard, her whole body convulsing with fear and adrenaline. Adam did not push for an explanation. Instead, he guided her to his horse, tied nearby, and helped her into the saddle with surprising gentleness. Then he swung up behind her, his arm around her waist holding her secure, and urged the horse into a gallop. They rode hard out of town, dust flying from the horse's hooves, the landscape blurring past in shades of brown and gold. Alina did not ask where they were going. She did not care. All that mattered was putting distance between herself and her father, between herself and the life that had nearly killed her more times than she could count. The Double T Ranch appeared on the horizon after what felt like both an eternity and no time at all. It was a sprawling collection of buildings, a main house, a bunkhouse, barns and corrals spreading across the valley. Adam did not take her to the main house. Instead, he rode to a small cabin set apart from the others, partially hidden by a stand of cottonwood trees. "This was my brother's place," Adam said, dismounting and helping Alina down. "He died 2 years ago, pneumonia. It has been empty since, but it is clean and sound. You will be safe here." Alina found her voice, though it came out hoarse and broken. "He will find me. He always finds me." "Not this time." Adam's jaw was set, his eyes hard with a determination that made him look suddenly dangerous. "Who is he?" "Your husband, my father." The words tasted like ash. "Marcus Thatcher. He has been hunting me since I left home 5 years ago. Every time I settle somewhere, he appears. I do not know how he tracks me, but he always does. And when he finds me, he drags me back, locks me up, beats me until I can barely stand. The last time I escaped, I thought I had finally gotten far enough away, but he found me in Kansas, then Colorado, now here." Adam's expression did not change, but something shifted in his eyes, a cold anger that had nothing to do with her and everything to do with the man she was describing. "Why does he hunt you?" "Because I am his property." Alina laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "Because I dared to leave." "Because he cannot stand the thought of me having any life beyond his control. My mother died when I was 10, and after that, he poured all his rage into me. I tried to tell people, tried to get help, but he is respected in our town. A businessman, they called him. Upstanding. Who would believe his daughter over him?" "I believe you," Adam said quietly. Those 3 words broke something inside Alina. She sank onto the steps of the cabin and buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Adam sat beside her, not touching but present, a solid, reassuring weight in a world that had tilted sideways. When Alina finally lifted her head, the sun had moved across the sky, shadows lengthening across the ranch yard. "You should not have brought me here," she said. "When he finds me, and he will, anyone helping me will be in danger. He has hurt people before. Threatened them, paid them off, whatever it takes to get me back." "Let him come," Adam said. His voice was calm, almost conversational, but there was steel underneath. "This is Texas, Miss Thatcher. We do things different here. A man who hurts women is not respected, no matter how much money he has or what he calls himself back east. And the Double T is my family's ranch. My brother may be gone, but my father and uncles and cousins are still here, and we protect our own." "I am not your own," Alina whispered. Adam looked at her, really looked at her, and something passed between them that Alina could not name. "Maybe not yet," he said, "but you could be if you wanted, if you stayed." Alina did not know how to respond to that, so she said nothing. Adam showed her inside the cabin, which was indeed clean and well-maintained despite its vacancy. There was a small bedroom, a main room with a fireplace, a kitchen area with a wood stove. Simple, but more than Alina had dared hope for in months. "I will bring you supplies," Adam said. "Food, blankets, whatever you need. For now, stay inside and rest. You look like you have not slept properly in weeks." "Months," Alina admitted. "Years, maybe." Adam's expression softened. "Then sleep. I will keep watch." He left, and Alina stood in the center of the cabin, trying to process everything that had happened in the span of a few hours. She should not trust him. She should not trust anyone. But something about Adam Irving made her want to believe that maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. She did sleep, eventually, falling into an exhausted, dreamless void that swallowed her whole. When she woke, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that seemed too beautiful for the harsh landscape. There was a basket on the table that had not been there before, filled with bread and cheese and apples, along with a canteen of water and a note in rough handwriting. Eat something. You are safe here." Alina ate mechanically, tasting nothing, her mind already racing ahead to all the ways this could go wrong. But as night fell and the stars emerged, brilliant and infinite in the Texas sky, she felt something she had not felt in a very long time. Not quite hope, not yet, but the faint possibility that hope might exist somewhere in her future. The next morning, Adam returned with a woman who introduced herself as Catherine Irving, Adam's mother. She was a sturdy, practical woman with kind eyes and work-worn hands, and she took one look at Alina and pulled her into a hug that made Alina's throat tighten with unshed tears. "My son told me about your situation," Catherine said, holding Alina at arm's length to study her face. "You are welcome here for as long as you need. We do not hold with men who abuse women, and we do not take kindly to strangers coming onto our land making threats." "My father is not just making threats," Alina said. "He is dangerous. He has connections, money. He can make things very difficult for people who cross him." "Good thing we are not easily intimidated," Catherine replied with a smile that had more steel than warmth in it. "Now, let us get you properly settled. You cannot hide in this cabin forever, and you should not have to. This ranch has plenty of work if you are interested. We could use help in the main house or with the chickens, or wherever you feel comfortable. Honest work for honest pay and a place to belong." Alina wanted to accept. She wanted it so desperately it hurt. But she had learned the hard way what happened to people who tried to help her. "I should not stay," she said. "He will come, and when he does, he will destroy everything you have built here. Let him try." This came from Adam, who had been standing quietly by the door. "Alina, you cannot keep running forever. At some point you have to make a stand. Let us help you do that here." Alina looked between them, these strangers who were offering her something she had stopped believing existed: sanctuary, community, a chance. "I do not know how to repay this kindness," she said, her voice breaking. "You do not have to repay anything," Catherine said firmly. "You just have to let us help. Can you do that?" Alina nodded, not trusting herself to speak. And so she stayed, and slowly, carefully, she began to build a life at the Double T Ranch. She worked in the main house, helping Catherine with cooking and cleaning and the endless labor that came with running a working ranch. She learned to feed the chickens without flinching when they flapped their wings, learned to knead bread until her arms ached, learned to mend clothes with tiny, precise stitches, and she learned about the Irving family. Adam's father, Daniel, was a weathered man who spoke little but smiled often. His uncles, James and Robert, were boisterous and loud, always ready with a joke or a tall tale. Adam's cousins ranged in age from 16 to 30, all of them sunburned and hardworking and quick to welcome Alina into their midst. But it was Adam himself who occupied most of Alina's thoughts. He checked on her every day, bringing her small gifts that showed he was paying attention. A book when he noticed her reading old newspapers, a shawl when he saw her shivering in the evening air, a jar of honey because she had mentioned missing the taste. They talked, long, rambling conversations that stretched from dawn to dusk, about everything and nothing. He told her about growing up on the ranch, about his dreams of expanding their herd, about the brother he still missed every day. She told him, haltingly at first and then with increasing confidence, about her childhood before her mother died, about the books she loved to read, about the person she might have been in a different life. "You can still be that person," Adam said one evening as they sat on the porch of her cabin, watching the sun set. "The past does not have to define your future." "Does it not?" Alina asked. "I have been running for so long, I do not know how to stop. And even here, even with your family protecting me, I wake up every morning expecting to see him, expecting this all to end." Adam was quiet for a moment, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Then he turned to her, and the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. What if it does not have to end? What if you could stay here, really stay and build the life you want, with your father on my trail? That is not a life, Adam. That is just a different kind of prison. Then we deal with your father. Adam's voice was calm, but there was something unshakable in it, a bedrock certainty that made Alina want to believe him. We make sure he cannot hurt you anymore, whatever it takes. Alina shook her head, fear and hope warring inside her chest. You do not understand what you are offering. He will not stop, he will never stop, neither will I. Adam reached out and took her hand, his calloused palm warm against hers. Alina, I know we have not known each other long. I know you have every reason not to trust me or anyone else, but I need you to hear this. I care about you. More than I probably should, given the circumstances. And I am not going to let anyone hurt you, not while I am still breathing. Alina stared at him, at this cowboy who had appeared in her life like something out of a story, offering her protection and kindness and something that felt dangerously close to love. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this for me? Because you deserve it, Adam said simply. Because everyone deserves to feel safe in their own life. And because when I look at you, I see someone brave and strong and beautiful, and I want to be the person who helps you see that in yourself. Tears spilled down Alina's cheeks, hot and sudden. She had not cried in front of another person since she was a child, had taught herself to swallow pain and fear and grief until they sat like stones in her stomach. But Adam's words cracked through her defenses, and suddenly she was sobbing, 5 years of terror and loneliness pouring out of her in great heaving gasps. Adam pulled her into his arms, holding her close while she cried, one hand stroking her hair with infinite gentleness. He did not try to quiet her or tell her everything would be fine. He just held her, solid and steady, until the storm passed and Alina could breathe again. I am sorry, she said, pulling back and wiping her eyes with her sleeve. I do not usually fall apart like that. You do not have to apologize, Adam said. You have been carrying this alone for too long. Let me help you carry it. Alina looked at him, at the sincerity in his face, and felt something shift inside her. For the first time since she had fled her father's house 5 years ago, she let herself imagine a different future. One where she did not have to run. One where she could stay in one place, build friendships, maybe even fall in love. It seemed impossible, a fantasy too fragile to survive contact with reality. But sitting here with Adam's arm around her shoulders and the Texas sky stretching endlessly overhead, it also seemed just barely possible. The weeks passed, turning into a month, and Alina began to relax into her new life. She grew close to Catherine, who taught her to cook traditional ranch meals and shared stories of her own struggles as a young bride learning to survive in the harsh Texas landscape. She befriended Adam's cousin Sarah, a spirited girl of 19 who dreamed of seeing the ocean someday. She even learned to ride a horse with Adam as her patient instructor, his hands steady on her waist as he helped her mount and dismount until she could do it herself. And through it all, her feelings for Adam grew deeper, more complex. She found herself watching for him throughout the day, her heart lifting when she caught sight of him across the ranch yard. She treasured their evening conversations, the easy way they could talk about anything or nothing. She lay awake at night thinking about the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the gentleness of his hands, the steadiness of his presence. But she also lived with constant fear, the knowledge that her father was out there somewhere, hunting her. She had not seen him since that day in Alpine, but she knew he had not given up. Marcus Thatcher never gave up. The confrontation came on a crisp October morning, 2 months after Alina had arrived at the Double T. She was in the chicken coop, gathering eggs, when she heard raised voices from the main house. Her blood turned to ice. She knew that voice, had heard it in her nightmares for years. Her father had found her. Alina dropped the basket of eggs and ran toward the house, her heart hammering. She burst through the kitchen door to find Marcus Thatcher standing in the main room, facing down Daniel Irving and his sons. Her father looked worse than when she had seen him in Alpine. Thinner, more haggard, with a wild, desperate look in his eyes that made him seem more dangerous, not less. "Alina," he said when he saw her, and the relief in his voice was almost convincing. "Thank God. I have been searching everywhere for you. Come now, we are going home." "I am home," Alina said, forcing herself to stand tall despite the trembling in her legs. "I am not going anywhere with you." Marcus's expression hardened. "You are my daughter, you belong with me." "I am 23 years old," Alina replied, her voice gaining strength. "I do not belong to anyone, and I am not leaving. The hell you are not." Marcus took a step toward her, and suddenly Adam was there, moving between them with the fluid grace of someone who knew how to fight. "The lady said no," Adam said quietly. "I think it is time for you to leave." Marcus looked at Adam with undisguised contempt. "This does not concern you, cowboy. This is a family matter." "She is family to us now," Daniel Irving said, moving to stand beside his son. "Which means you are trespassing on our land and threatening someone under our protection. You need to leave, and you need to leave now." Marcus laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "You think you can keep her from me? I am her father. I have rights." "You gave up those rights when you raised your hand to her," Catherine said, appearing from the kitchen with a rifle held competently in her hands. "We know what you did to her. We know what you are, and you are not welcome here." Marcus's face flushed with rage. "You cannot do this. I will go to the law. I will have the sheriff drag her back if I have to." "Try it," Adam said, and there was something cold and final in his voice. "The sheriff in Alpine is a friend of ours. We have already told him about you, about why Alina came here, about what you have done. He is not going to help you. No one in this town is going to help you. I will go to the federal marshals. I will make such trouble for you that you will wish you had never interfered." "Make all the trouble you want," Daniel said. "But you are still leaving our land right now, and you are not coming back. If we see you anywhere near this ranch or near Alina again, we will consider it a threat and respond accordingly. Do I make myself clear?" Marcus looked around the room at the united front of the Irving family, and something in his face shifted. The bluster faded, replaced by a calculating coldness that Alina knew all too well. This was not over. He would regroup, find another way, come at them from a different angle. "This is not finished," Marcus said, pointing at Alina. "You are my daughter, mine, and I will have you back no matter what it takes." Then he turned and strode out of the house, slamming the door behind him. Alina stood frozen, her whole body shaking with reaction. She heard the sound of a horse riding away, fast and angry, and only then did she let herself collapse, her legs giving out beneath her. Adam caught her before she hit the floor, lifting her easily and carrying her to the sofa. "It is all right," he murmured. "He is gone. You are safe." "No," Alina gasped. "No, you do not understand. He meant what he said. He will come back, and next time he will be prepared. He will bring men with him, or weapons, or find some legal way to force me to leave with him. I have seen him do it before. He never gives up." "Neither do we," Catherine said firmly, kneeling beside the sofa and taking Alina's hand. "You are part of this family now, Alina. We do not abandon our own." But Alina could see the worry in their faces, the understanding that Marcus Thatcher represented a threat they might not be able to counter. Men like him always won in the end. They had the money, the connections, the respectability that came with being a businessman from back east. What did a ranch family in Texas have against that? That night, Alina packed her few belongings into a small bundle. She would leave before dawn, slip away before anyone could stop her. It was the only way to keep the Irvings safe. If she was gone, her father would have no reason to target them. She could head west, maybe make it to California, start over once more under a new name. She was about to blow out her lamp when the door to her cabin opened. Adam stepped inside, his face grim in the flickering light. "You are leaving," he said. It was not a question. "I have to," Alina replied. "I cannot let him hurt your family because of me." "So you are going to run again? Spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, never settling, never having a home. It is the only way to keep you safe." "No." Adam crossed the room in 3 long strides and took her hands in his. "No, running is not the only way. Alina, listen to me. I have been thinking about this all day, and I have a plan." "What kind of plan?" Alina asked warily. "A permanent one." Adam's grip tightened on her hands. "Marry me." Alina stared at him, certain she had misheard. "What, marry me?" Adam repeated. "If you are my wife, legally and officially, your father has no claim on you. He cannot drag you anywhere or make any demands. You would be under my protection, part of my family in the eyes of the law." "That is insane," Alina whispered. "We barely know each other." "I know enough," Adam said. "I know you are brave and kind and stronger than you give yourself credit for. I know I care about you more than I have ever cared about anyone. I know I want to wake up every morning and see your face. I know I want to spend my life making sure you never have to be afraid again." He paused, his eyes searching hers. "And I think maybe you feel something for me too." Alina's heart was racing, her mind spinning with the impossibility of what he was offering. Marriage, a real future, a life without running. It was everything she had dreamed of and nothing she believed she deserved. "You do not have to love me," Adam continued, his voice gentle. "Not yet, anyway. I am hoping that will come with time. But even if it does not, even if we are only ever friends, I still want to do this. I still want to give you the protection of my name and my family." "Why?" Alina asked, tears streaming down her face. "Why would you sacrifice your future for me?" "It is not a sacrifice," Adam said. "Alina, you are my future. I think I knew that from the first moment I saw you in Morrison's store, looking so scared and so determined at the same time. I want to marry you, not out of obligation or pity, but because I cannot imagine my life without you in it now. Please, let me do this. Let me help you be free." Alina looked at him through her tears, at this man who had appeared in her darkest hour and offered her light. She thought about the life she could have with him, about waking up in the same place every morning, about having a family and a home and all the things she had believed were forever beyond her reach. And she thought about the alternative: endless running, endless fear, endless loneliness. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." Adam's face broke into a smile so bright it took her breath away. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close, and Alina let herself sink into his embrace, let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. They were married 3 days later, in a simple ceremony in the ranch house with the Irving family as witnesses. Alina wore a dress that Catherine had altered for her, pale blue with lace at the collar, and Adam wore his best suit, clean and pressed. The local minister spoke the words that bound them together, and when Adam kissed her, gentle and reverent, Alina felt something inside her chest break open, releasing years of pent-up hope. The next day, they rode into Alpine together to file the marriage certificate at the courthouse. Adam made sure everyone in town knew that Alina Thatcher was now Alina Irving, his wife, under the full protection of his family and name. Word spread quickly, the way it always did in small towns, and Alina knew it would reach her father soon enough. She did not have to wait long. 2 days after their wedding, Marcus Thatcher appeared at the ranch again, but this time he was not alone. He had 3 men with him, hard-looking characters who wore guns low on their hips and had the eyes of hired killers. Daniel Irving met them at the gate with his sons and nephews, all of them armed. Alina watched from the main house, her hand gripping Adam's arm so tightly her fingers went numb. "I have come for my daughter," Marcus announced. "You mean my wife," Adam said, stepping forward. Alina is married now, which means she is no longer under your authority. She is part of the Irving family and she is staying here. Marcus's face twisted with rage. You think a piece of paper changes anything? She is my blood. She belongs to me. She belongs to herself, Adam replied calmly. And she chose to marry me. That is the end of it. The hell it is. Marcus gestured to the men with him. I brought witnesses. I am prepared to swear out a complaint that you kidnapped my daughter, held her against her will, forced her into marriage. I will see you hanged for it. Swear whatever you want, Daniel Irving said. Alina came here of her own free will. She married Adam of her own free will. We have plenty of witnesses to testify to that, including the minister who performed the ceremony and half the town of Alpine who saw them file their marriage certificate. Your complaints will not hold up in any court. Then maybe I do not need a court. Marcus's hand moved toward his gun, and suddenly the tension ratcheted up. Every man there ready to draw. Do not, Adam said, his voice like iron. You are outnumbered and you are in the wrong. If you draw on us, you will die here. Is that really what you want? Marcus hesitated, his hand hovering over his gun. For a long moment, no one moved. Then one of the hired men spoke up, his voice carrying across the yard. I did not sign on for a shootout with a dozen armed ranchers, he said. You want to commit suicide, that is your business, but leave me out of it. The other two men nodded agreement, backing away from Marcus. Without their support, Marcus stood alone against the assembled Irving family. His face went from red to purple, his whole body shaking with impotent fury. This is not over, he snarled. I will make you pay for this, all of you. You are welcome to try, Daniel said. But right now you are leaving our land, and if you come back we will shoot you for trespassing. Am I clear? Marcus did not answer. He simply spun on his heel and stalked back to his horse, mounting with jerky, angry movements. The three hired men followed, and together they rode off, disappearing into the distance. Alina sagged against Adam, all the strength draining out of her. He will be back, she whispered. He always comes back, maybe, Adam said. But every time he does, we will be here, together. He cannot win, Alina, not anymore. But Marcus Thatcher was not finished. Over the next few weeks, he tried everything he could think of to get to Alina. He went to the sheriff, claiming kidnapping and coercion. But the sheriff, who had indeed heard the full story from the Irvings, turned him away. He hired a lawyer and tried to file papers claiming his daughter was mentally incompetent and needed to be returned to his custody. But the lawyer took one look at Alina, articulate and clearly in full possession of her faculties, and refused the case. He even tried to have Adam arrested for corruption of a minor, until birth records proved Alina was 23, well past the age of consent. Every attempt failed, but each one took a toll. Alina could not relax, could not settle into her new life, because she was always waiting for the next attack. She started having nightmares, waking up screaming in the middle of the night, certain her father was in the room with her. Adam held her through those nights, whispering reassurances, but Alina could see the worry in his eyes. I am sorry, she told him one morning after a particularly bad night. I am sorry I brought this into your life. Stop apologizing, Adam said firmly. You did not bring this into my life. Your father did, and we are going to end it one way or another. How? Alina asked hopelessly. He will never stop. Never. Adam did not answer right away. He stared out the window at the rising sun, his jaw set in that determined way she had come to recognize. There is one way, he said finally, but you might not like it. Tell me. We confront him. Directly. With witnesses. We get him to admit what he did to you, get it on record, and then we use that to get a legal order keeping him away from you permanently. He will never admit to anything, Alina said. And even if he did, who would believe me over him? Everyone who has met him in the last few weeks, Adam replied. Alina, he has been making a spectacle of himself, threatening people, trying to bribe officials, hiring gunmen. The whole town knows what kind of man he is now. If we can get him to confess, even partially, we will have enough to bury him legally. And if we cannot, Adam's expression went cold, then we do this another way, a final way. Alina understood what he was implying and felt sick. No. I do not want you killing someone because of me. I do not want that blood on either of our hands. It will not come to that, Adam promised. But we have to do something, Alina. You cannot live like this forever. Alina knew he was right. The constant fear was eating her alive, destroying any chance of happiness she might have found with Adam. She had to face her father, had to find a way to end this once and for all. They made their plan carefully. Adam sent word to Marcus through a mutual acquaintance that Alina wanted to meet with him, to discuss terms for a peaceful resolution. They chose a location in Alpine itself, the town square in broad daylight, with plenty of witnesses. The sheriff agreed to be present, along with several prominent citizens, to ensure everything remained civil. Marcus agreed to the meeting, and Alina suspected he thought this was his chance to finally manipulate her into coming back with him. He had always been able to break her down before, to make her doubt herself until she believed his version of reality. But she was not the same terrified girl who had fled Missouri 5 years ago. She was stronger now, harder with Adam and his family behind her. The day of the meeting dawned clear and cold, a November wind whipping through the streets of Alpine. Alina dressed carefully in her best clothes, wanting to look respectable, strong. Adam rode beside her into town, his presence a comfort and a shield. Marcus was already waiting in the square, standing beside a hired buggy, looking every inch the respectable businessman. But Alina could see the anger simmering beneath his composed exterior, the rage he was barely holding in check. "Alina," he said as she approached, "I am glad you have finally come to your senses." "I have not come to make peace with you," Alina said, her voice carrying across the square. The sheriff and other witnesses moved closer, listening. "I have come to tell you publicly and officially that I want nothing to do with you. You abused me for years. You beat me, starved me, locked me in closets and attics, told me I was worthless and stupid and deserved everything you did to me. You made my entire childhood a nightmare, and when I finally escaped, you hunted me like an animal across 3 states. Marcus's face went pale, then red. "That is a lie. I am your father. I only ever tried to discipline you to make you into a proper young woman." "Discipline?" Alina's voice rose, anger finally overriding fear. "You broke my arm when I was 14 because I smiled at a boy at church. You gave me a black eye when I was 16 because I burned your dinner. You locked me in the cellar for 3 days without food when I was 18 because I said I wanted to leave home and find work. Is that discipline? You were disobedient, willful. You needed a firm hand." "I needed a father," Alina said, tears streaming down her face. "I needed someone to protect me and love me, not someone who terrorized me every day of my life. And now I have found people who do love me, who do protect me, and I am never coming back to you. Never. Do you understand?" Marcus took a step toward her, his hand raised, and for just a moment, his mask slipped entirely. "You ungrateful little wretch. I should have drowned you when you were born. You have been nothing but trouble since your mother died. I will drag you back if I have to chain you in the wagon. You are mine. You will always be mine." The sheriff moved, suddenly and decisively, placing himself between Marcus and Alina. "That is enough," he said. "Sir, you just threatened this woman in front of multiple witnesses, including an officer of the law. I am placing you under arrest for making terroristic threats." Marcus blinked as if suddenly realizing what he had said. "No, I did not mean. I was just trying to make her understand." "Understand what?" "That you intended to kidnap and imprison her. the sheriff gestured to his deputy. "Take him into custody. You cannot do this." Marcus shouted as the deputy moved to restrain him. "She is lying. I am a respected businessman. You cannot treat me like a common criminal. You made yourself a criminal when you threatened her," the sheriff said calmly. "And given what I just heard, along with the testimony Mrs. Irving gave me previously, I will be recommending that the judge issue a permanent restraining order. You will not be allowed within 100 yards of her, and if you violate that order, you will go to jail." "Do I make myself clear?" Marcus struggled against the deputy's grip, his face contorted with rage. "This is not over. I will appeal this. I will go to the territorial governor if I have to." "You do that," the sheriff said. "But in the meantime, you are spending the night in my jail to cool off." They led Marcus away, still shouting threats and protests. Alina stood in the town square, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Adam wrapped his arms around her, holding her steady. "It is done," he murmured into her hair. "You did it. You faced him and you won." "Did I?" Alina asked. "He will never stop, Adam. You heard him. He will appeal, he will fight this, he will find some way around it." "Maybe," Adam said, "but he cannot hurt you anymore. Not here, not with all these witnesses having heard what he said. Everyone knows what he is now. He has no power here." Adam was right. Over the next few days, as word spread through Alpine about what had happened in the town square, public opinion turned decisively against Marcus Thatcher. The judge issued the restraining order as recommended, with harsh warnings about what would happen if Marcus violated it. The hired gunmen he had brought with him left town, unwilling to be associated with a man publicly exposed as an abuser. Even the hotel refused to let him stay, the owner citing concerns about his behavior. A week after the confrontation, Marcus left Alpine. Alina watched from the window of Morrison's store, where she had gone to help Mr. Morrison with inventory, as her father's buggy rolled out of town heading east. She waited for the fear to grip her, for the certainty that he would return. But instead, she felt something unfamiliar, lightness, as if a weight she had carried for years had finally been lifted. "He is really gone," she whispered. Adam, standing beside her, took her hand. "He is really gone, and he is not coming back." The sheriff sent word to law enforcement in Kansas and Colorado about the restraining order. "If he shows up in any town where you are, he will be arrested on sight." Alina turned to look at Adam, at this man who had given her everything she had thought was impossible. "I do not know how to live without fear," she admitted. "It has been part of me for so long, I do not know who I am without it." "Then we will figure that out together," Adam said, pulling her close. "We have the rest of our lives to learn," and they did. As winter settled over the Double T Ranch, Alina began to slowly, tentatively believe in her new life. She threw herself into work, helping Catherine manage the household, learning to cook the meals Adam loved, even trying her hand at sewing, though she was admittedly terrible at it. She grew closer to the entire Irving family, who embraced her fully as one of their own, and she fell in love with her husband. It happened gradually in small moments. The way Adam always made sure she had enough blanket at night, the way he listened when she talked about her dreams, the way he smiled at her across the dinner table. They had married out of necessity, but somewhere along the way, it had become real. One night in December, as they lay in bed in their small cabin, Alina finally found the courage to tell him. "I love you," she whispered into the darkness. Adam went very still beside her. "What did you say?" "I love you," Alina repeated, louder this time. "I know we married for practical reasons. I know you did not expect this, but I need you to know. I love you, Adam Irving. I love your kindness and your strength and the way you make me feel safe. I love the life we are building together. I love you." Adam rolled over, propping himself up on one elbow to look down at her. Even in the dim light, she could see the emotion shining in his eyes. "Alina, I have loved you since the day I carried you out of that alley. I have been waiting for you to feel ready to hear it, to believe it. But I love you. I have always loved you." He kissed her then, deep and passionate, and Alina kissed him back, pouring all her newfound hope and joy into the embrace. They made love that night for the first time, gentle and tender, and Alina felt truly free for the first time in her life. The months passed, turning into a year. Alina's fear faded gradually, replaced by contentment and happiness. She learned to sleep through the night without nightmares. She learned to trust that when Adam said he would be home by dinner, he actually would be. She learned to plan for the future, to think in terms of years instead of just surviving day to day. And in the spring of 1886, she discovered she was pregnant. The news filled her with joy and terror in equal measure. She wanted this child desperately, wanted to build a family with Adam, but she was terrified that she would somehow pass on the trauma she carried, that she would fail as a mother the way her father had failed as a parent. Adam held her while she cried, processing all her complicated emotions. "You are not him," he said firmly. "You could never be him. You are kind and gentle and so full of love. You are going to be an amazing mother." "How do you know?" Alina asked. "Because I know you," Adam replied. "And because I see how much love you already have for this baby." "That is what matters, Alina. Not your past, but your present and your future." Their son was born in January of 1887, during a cold snap that had everyone on the ranch huddled close to the fires. Alina labored for 12 hours, with Catherine and the local midwife attending her, before finally bringing a healthy baby boy into the world. When the midwife placed him in her arms, Alina looked down at his tiny red face and felt her heart expand beyond what she thought possible. "What should we name him?" Adam asked, sitting beside her on the bed, his arm around her shoulders. Alina thought for a moment, then smiled. "Daniel," she said, "after your father, if that is all right with you." Adam's eyes went bright with tears. "It is more than all right, Daniel Adam Irving. It is perfect." They raised Daniel with all the love and attention Alina had never received as a child. She was fiercely protective of him, but also determined not to smother him the way her father had controlled her. Adam was a devoted father, patient and playful, teaching his son to ride almost before he could walk. 2 years later, they had a daughter, Catherine, named for Adam's mother. And 2 years after that, another son, James, named for Adam's uncle. Each child was treasured, each one expanding their family and filling their home with noise and laughter and the organized chaos of raising children. Alina never heard from her father again. She learned through a letter from Missouri that Marcus Thatcher had died in 1889, apparently of a stroke. She felt nothing when she read the news, no grief but also no satisfaction. He was simply gone, and that was enough. The Double T Ranch prospered over the years. Adam took over more responsibilities from his aging father, expanding their herd and improving their breeding stock. Alina became known throughout the region for her hospitality, always ready to welcome neighbors or strangers who needed a meal or a place to stay. She never forgot what it felt like to be desperate and alone, and she made sure no one who came to their door ever felt that way. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Adam took Alina on a trip to San Antonio. It was the first time she had left the ranch since arriving in Texas, and she was nervous about traveling so far from the safety of home. But Adam held her hand the entire journey, and Alina discovered that she could enjoy new experiences without constant fear. They stayed in a real hotel, ate in restaurants, walked through the plaza at twilight. And one evening, as they stood on the river walk watching the water flow past, Adam pulled her close and whispered in her ear. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" Alina asked, confused. "For saying yes when I asked you to marry me. For taking a chance on us. For building this beautiful life with me." I know it was not easy, and I know you were scared, but you did it anyway. You are the bravest person I have ever known, Alina Irving." Alina looked up at her husband, at the man who had saved her in every way that mattered, and felt tears spill down her cheeks. But they were happy tears, tears of gratitude and love and wonder at how much her life had changed. "I am the lucky one," she said. "You gave me everything I thought I would never have. A home, a family, safety, love. You gave me myself back, Adam. How do I ever repay that?" "By being happy," Adam said simply. "That is all I have ever wanted, for you to be happy." "I am," Alina replied, and she meant it with every fiber of her being. "I am so happy I could burst with it." They returned to the ranch, to their children and their family, to the life they had built together in the wild, beautiful landscape of West Texas. Alina still had moments of fear, still occasionally woke from nightmares, but they grew fewer and farther between as the years passed. She learned to trust in the permanence of her happiness, to believe that she deserved the good things that had come to her. She watched her children grow, each of them strong and confident in ways she had never been as a child. Daniel became a skilled horseman like his father, gentle with animals and people alike. Catherine was bright and curious, always asking questions about how things worked. James was the wild card, full of mischief and energy, keeping everyone on their toes. And through it all, Adam was there, steady and loving, her partner in every sense of the word. They grew old together, their hair going gray, their bodies wearing the marks of hard work and good living. But their love never faded. If anything, it deepened, becoming something richer and more complex than the desperate attraction of their early days. On their 40th wedding anniversary, the whole family gathered at the ranch for a celebration. Daniel was there with his wife and 3 children. Catherine had married a doctor in Alpine and had 2 sons. James, still unmarried at 37, brought his latest sweetheart, a schoolteacher from Marfa who made him laugh. Alina stood on the porch of the main house, looking out at her family gathered in the yard, at the grandchildren running and playing, at Adam standing in the center of it, all telling some story that had everyone laughing. She thought about the terrified girl who had fled across 3 states, who had believed she would never stop running, never find peace. That girl seemed like someone from another lifetime now, someone Alina could barely remember being. Adam caught her eye across the yard and smiled, that same warm, genuine smile that had made her fall in love with him all those years ago. He excused himself from his conversation and walked over to her, taking her hand in his. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Everything," Alina replied. "How far we have come. How lucky I am." "We are," Adam corrected. "How lucky we are. I got pretty fortunate too, you know. Got to marry the most amazing woman in Texas." Alina laughed and leaned against him, his arm coming around her shoulders in the familiar, comfortable way of long marriage. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Marrying me so quickly, taking on all my problems?" "Never," Adam said without hesitation. "Not for a single second. You and our life together, that is the best thing that ever happened to me. I would do it all again in a heartbeat." Alina looked up at him, at the lines around his eyes and the gray in his hair, at the face she loved more than any other, and felt the last lingering shadow of fear finally dissolve. She was safe. She was loved. She was home. "I love you, Adam Irving," she said. "I love you too, Alina Irving," he replied. "Always have, always will." They stood together on the porch as the sun set over the ranch, painting the Texas sky in shades of gold and crimson, surrounded by the family they had built and the life they had created. Alina Thatcher, who had once believed she would never escape her father's shadow, had found something she never thought possible: a happy ending. And as she leaned into her husband's embrace, watching their grandchildren play in the fading light, she knew with absolute certainty that she had finally, truly, come home.